Hello, boos, gremlins, and ghouls. Welcome to a spooky ASMR trigger video. This is the talking version of the video. So, along with trigger sounds, there will be some meditative thoughts on the season of autumn and celebrating Halloween. So if you'd like something that's more background noise and less podcasty, I recommend checking out the no talking version of this video. That's up on my channel, and you can find it at the link in the description. That video is just trigger sounds and is perfect for relaxation and focus. As always, you can find my meditations on my Ko-fi for download. They're all pay what you can, and there are lots of goodies up there that help directly support my work. I appreciate you being here, so let me know what you think. And sit back and enjoy this spooky ASMR. It's spooky season, and I have a collection of spooky Halloween artifacts for you that will hopefully sound delightful and get you in the mood for the holiday. To start out, I have these lovely tappy skeleton hands. We'll see how dexterous I can be with them, but they're very fun to play with. And we'll do some mic scratching with them as well. I have a very special microphone set up for you all today with this lovely Ricote windscreen. Very fuzzy, very soft. Though I don't know if the skeleton hands can tell how soft it is. What do you think? I love the sound of scratching. The process of doing this is very relaxing too. While we're here, I think this is the perfect time to talk about the spooky season in general. There tends to be a lot of emphasis on consumption, and I see that with most holidays these days. And don't get me wrong, I do love setting up Halloween decorations, and I love some gothic or death-inspired tchotchkes accessories. And I love snuggling down on a fall evening with a warm beverage and watching a spooky movie. Though I will say, rather than watching horror, I much prefer the campier side of things. And that's kind of what got me thinking about the spirit of this holiday in general. I know that it's easy to get scared as the days fall shorter and the night creeps up on us earlier and earlier. You know, this can also be a really hard time of year for folks. There's seasonal mood effects, and I think that's why we as a collective focus on the spookier side of things. Death and the veil and the afterlife and even the undead. Historically, it's also a spookier time. It's after the harvest season, and you have all of your food stores prepped for winter. Things start to get cold. Illnesses start to spread. So our ancestors definitely had a more difficult time in this season as well. And I like to think that these celebrations, like Samhain and Day of the Dead, and now Halloween, try to celebrate these things, or at least bring some joy into these acknowledgments, these very important acknowledgments of death and dying. I know this isn't necessarily the most relaxing topic for an ASMR, but in my lifetime I would like to destigmatize the talk of death and dying and all that comes with it, and find some comfort in that. I got the second set of skeleton hands I couldn't resist. I couldn't decide between black or white, so I chose both. The classic non-binary dilemma. There's a metaphor in that somewhere, I believe. Perhaps the idea that death is neither good or bad. It's both an ending and a beginning. Death also brings so much life as we decompose and fertilize the soil for the next generation. Things like trees that die are the perfect home for mushrooms and moss and little animals to take root in the housing. I also like to think that those are places that house fey creatures and fairies and all things in the realms that we don't see. And those realms are notably closer to us as the nights get longer. This time of year on the calendar has been celebrated for generations as it marks the halfway point between the equinox in the fall and the winter solstice. Now, Some people believe that winter is the time of long dark nights and the cold, which is definitely correct, especially if you live up north where I am. But in recent years, I've tried to shift my understanding of winter as the time of slow growth to springtime. Because when we finally reach the fall equinox, that point that marks death and beginning, the sun reaches an equal point of day and night in the sky. That's why I associate autumn or fall with the growing night, with the hardest season. And I think in marking these holidays that celebrate and acknowledge death and the undead, our ancestors knew this too. And the residuals are still there underneath all the consumption. And I think we all know it too. And these things in nature are the perfect metaphors for our lives. They were our first teachers. We can look at all of the things that we've accumulated over the year, all of the learnings, all of the abundance, and we can see how it will carry us through this time of death and hibernation. We'll see what we have to shed, like the trees shed their leaves, and what is left is what we will carry into winter, into the time of hibernation and stillness and meditation. But until then, it's important to replenish our stores of joy, to look back and reflect, to give gratitude and thanks for everything that brought us to this point, all of the people who came before us, and acknowledge all that will come after us when this time is past, and to celebrate, because that energy will carry us through the darker times too. Here's our next spooky item. This is the front of a Halloween mask that I got secondhand. I repurposed the top of this helmet for another costume, but kept the front for future projects. It was a knight's helmet. I'm glad I saved this because it makes some really delightful noises. And I thought it would be fun to play with the skeleton hands. Dressing up is such a fun part of this holiday for me. It sparks my creativity. I've almost never bought a costume off the rack. I always try to craft, and I've always associated this time of year with creativity and crafting. I know that there's lore behind dressing up on these evenings so that the spirits that walk among us are either frightened off from harming us and our loved ones, or so that we may blend in with them as the veil thins and we cross between worlds knowingly or not. I think when we don costumes, we do in some part become them. When we put on our uniforms, formal or informal, we put on that persona. When warriors go into battle, they don armor and war paint to put them into that mentality. During this time of year, not only do we don more layers to ward off the cold, to stay cozy, but many of us partake in spooky accoutrement and accessories. I think that adorning ourselves gets us into the spirit of the season. It sparks joy and creativity, and it acknowledges our fears of things on the other side, while finding community and enjoyment. This piece of fabric is something that I sewed together as a practice item, something very simple and something to hold some of my sewing tools. I just loved the fabric. Who doesn't love some sparkly leaves? See if we can make some noise with them. I doubt it will compare to the rustling of falling leaves underfoot, which is one of the best noises in the world. But I do keep this item, even though I don't use it anymore. I've expanded past the capacity of tools that I can carry because I love the sparkly leaves. On the back here, there's an even sparklier bit of fabric, but there are also scraps of cauldrons and potions and items that appear on the tarot. I loved these scraps of fabric. I had to incorporate them into this project, but I kept the rest of them to create a ribbon wall that you might be able to see in the background. I like the frayed appearance, especially as it's been distressed after years of use. I hang up this wall of ribbon outside my front door every Halloween season and have for the past 3 years. And each year it gets more and more spooky looking, and it brings me a lot of joy. These little ghosts here are another item that I crafted many a Halloween ago. In the heads of each of these little ghosts, there are written scraps of paper with intentions for the next season. They're made with those same scraps of fabric and some frayed yarn. They're very fuzzy. They feel like pom-poms. And it was a very simple craft to do. To bunch up some yarn and fabric and scraps of paper and tie them off with a string. And I would highly recommend this ritual and this craft. on the scrap of paper, I drew a circle, and on the inside of the circle, I wrote my intentions and the things I wanted to keep with me. On the outside of the circle, I wrote everything to be banished. And with a pair of very sharp, very clean scissors, I cut the circle out, and I folded the intentions up tightly with my name written on them. You can say a little prayer over it if that feels right. And then with the outside circle, I ripped it and cut it and shredded it and crumpled it until it was no more. Completely transformed, erased, and banished. And that's what lives in these ghosts. Life and death together. So there you go. A little craft to do with the kids, a little ritual to do for yourself, some added bonus content for ASMR video today. The next noisemaker I have here is a witch's hat. I love a classic witch's hat, but this witch's hat brings me a lot of joy because it has this mermaid fabric, a witch that is a mermaid that is a witch. On one side it is sparkly blue and bright, and the other side is black sequins. I've had this hat for many years now. I love to bring it out during this holiday. This is so much fun, playing with these sequins and these skeleton hands. Who better to guide us through the times of death and dying than the witch? Someone who lives in liminal spaces, who understands the progress and the transition of things, and who's not afraid of the occult or the veil, who understands that even the scariest demon or the most disgusting grub have a place in this world and have a reason for existing. And that acknowledgement can be very powerful at this time of year. Some believe that this is a time of year when you can talk to the dead, send them messages, and receive messages from the beyond. Ask questions and find comfort. If we do all of these things with love and kindness towards ourselves and our community, that spreads outwards. And things like talking to entities beyond the veil, on the other side of death and darkness. I believe there's so much wisdom there, and I don't necessarily think that it's something to be feared, as long as every practice is based in respect and acknowledgement that we as mortal creatures do not know everything. We have but a fraction of perspective in this mortal existence, but that is a unique perspective, and that in itself should also be respected. We are not gods, we are not all powerful, we are not all seeing. times during this time of year when we look into the darkness and we sit and we meditate in the stillness, we can gain a glimpse of a larger perspective greater than us. Our cycles, not just as a human, but as humanity. And I think that's the power in this time of year. And that's the power in acknowledging the cycles of death and dying. This item is one of my favorites. It's a flower crown adorned with all sorts of baubles and beads. It's made with wires, so I can bend and twist the shape how I like it. There's this little eyeball on the front and a foam skull, as well as lots of pendants and things that dangle. I wanted to create something that felt like a tree in a witch's wood. Something adorned with items collected over time. All of these are. Some of these baubles are relics that have been lurking in closets and corners of my basement for many, many years, unearthed, but kept with the intention of doing something with them someday. And that someday came, and I created this. With the same materials, I created a companion crown for my sweet Scorpio sister, who was born in this time of year, and I believe who truly feels this time of year deep within her bones and soul, as many sweet Scorpios do. It's funny, she's a poet and a translator. Translation in itself, the idea of liminal spaces. She said in these programs, most of her peers had birthdays within 2 weeks of each other. So funny to me that astrological siblings find comfort in the same areas of study and creative expression. Trying to unlock the secrets of the universe and share them with the people on this planet now while reading the works of people long dead. It makes me smile. Though these beautiful grad students could all stand to use a little bit more sleep. If you're listening out there and you are in a period of intense study, take this as your note to be gentle and good to yourself. Pour a warm drink. Wrap yourself in a blanket, relax, and get a good night's sleep. in a very tangential meditation on the time of year and all of the respective holidays that one may celebrate during the fall times. This is a very fun and special ASMR trigger for you all. This mask is an item I crafted based on a meditation I had for a spirit guardian. This tree spirit. I tried to do it justice in this physical form. I think I got pretty close. I'm very happy with the paint job. It looks particularly colorful and decorating. It's made from plastic and foam clay to emulate wood. In another life, I would have made it in wood. I love the sound of wood triggers. But we work with what we've got. And it was very fun to try and replicate the likeness. I love this mask. It's a very simple costume, but very effective. I had a very fun reaction from a neighborhood kiddo while I was wearing it, giving out stickers for Halloween. He pointed at me and screamed and laughed at the same time. Which honestly isn't that the goal of Halloween. I'll also say that giving out stickers for the past couple of years instead of sweet treats has been an absolute delight. I would recommend to anyone. It's all inclusive. You don't have to worry about allergens or manufacturing. But it still brings a lot of joy. I left my cauldron of stickers outside my front door after it got dark to go in and watch a movie and celebrate with my friends. But I left our screen door open to make sure that no hooligans or ill-intentioned spirits would get at my cauldron. And luckily for me, everyone was very respectful and also very enthusiastic. There's nothing better in this world than hearing a group of children come up to your doorstep and hear, "Oh, they got stickers." I carry that memory with me very fondly, and I share it with you to encourage you to do the same. Share your stickers, share them with the young and the old. I think everyone appreciates a good sticker. In addition to the skeleton hands on sticks, on wrists that I have, which one has been looking in the corner of the screen? How long has that been happening? I found these fun hair clips think one day I may paint them a fun color, but for today, we'll get some snapping sounds and play with them on this lovely, fuzzy windscreen. These clips could talk. I wonder what they'd say. Kind of looks like they're just saying wop, 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 wop. They look very fun and spooky clipped onto this windscreen. I'm sure they would look fabulous in one's hair. My hair is still a bit too short for that, but perhaps as it grows into winter, I'll be able to use these. Because as you know, these clips are not going to get put away with the Halloween season. I believe that they are going to be used year-round as accessories. Perhaps not just as hair clips. Maybe as a brooch. Brooches, an underrated accessory. Ask your grandma. I was not dexterous with the other skeleton hands. These are definitely not an improvement. They do sound really delightful together. And I have such an abundance of them. And I'll play with them all. This brings me more joy than I should admit, having so many skeleton hands in my possession. I'm thinking about it now. I have 2, 4, 6, 8 skeleton hands on screen. You just can't see the last pair. And that's good too. I'd like to keep my flesh for a while longer. I have a lot more real estate to tattoo. And I have an appointment to get my hand tattoo this November, right after Halloween. I think of my tattoos as my scrapbook, as I cover myself with moments of my life I wish to mark and celebrate. Remember to also provide yourself with adornments of joy and protection and sweetness as well, and share the spirit of this holiday, not just this month, but throughout all of autumn and until the winter solstice, when we all enter our period of quiet stillness. And as I place all of these items in front of you today to celebrate our abundance and this time we have to check in with ourselves, but also to play, to relax, to enjoy. I hope you all leave feeling a little bit more connected to yourself and to the season. with a little bit more understanding of why we celebrate during this time of year. And not only that, but why it's important to celebrate. And thank you so much for taking this time with me. I'm sending so much love to you and the community around you. Happy Halloween!